This is CyberSound, your simplified and fundamentals-focused source for all things cybersecurity, with your hosts, Jason Pufall, Stephen Maresca, and Matt Fusaro.
Welcome to CyberSound. I'm your host, Jason Pufall, with Matt Fusaro and Steve Maresca, as always.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
So it's been a year, and a whole year. So today's a variety of things, right? Where I think we're going to talk a little bit about what we learned about podcasting over the last year. Since, frankly, right? Actually, I think that's going to come up even in some of this. None of us had ever done a podcast prior to this. None of us has ever set up any of the technical stuff that's needed to produce it. This whole thing was new right from the start, and it's interesting. I think the first thing that I've learned is it takes a lot of time, and I think as evidenced by the fact that we still haven't officially added Matt to the Welcome to CyberSound blurb at the beginning, right? Because it feels like each time we sit down to record, we're kind of running in. We've got our scripts ready and things that we want to talk about, but it always feels like it's the 11th hour, even getting all this stuff together.
Once I'm in the intro, though, that means I got to stay.
Yeah, you're still on the
like
fringe.
Like
You're not committed officially. For me, I think it struck me over the year just how much work it actually is to put on a good podcast. It is a lot of technical effort, collecting the content, doing all of the editing, promoting it. I think we've hit 2,000 downloads, which is cool. But then ultimately, that probably means we're closer to, say 40 to 50 per episode, which is lower than I'd like, right? I don't think that we've gotten the ears on this that I'd like, and I think we need to do a lot more promotion. I mean, that's certainly a takeaway for me.
Yeah, I mean, this content is always hard to present to people, right? A lot of the times we're getting into the technical weeds of some stuff, so we're doing our best to make it entertaining, get it so people that can consume what we're talking about. This isn't an easy topic for sure.
And, some of that is simply tuning to our particular audience, which has shifted a little bit as we've progressed. Certainly we're responding to some degree in terms of shares and viewership and, the episodes that actually perform better, but we're still finding ourselves even today.
Yeah. And no offense to Steve, adding Matt helped. Three people, it makes it more conversational. I think when really at the beginning, the first 4 episodes were pretty rough, I'd say, from a production standpoint, because we really had some Bush League equipment in here. I think you and I were kind of getting a voice a bit, and it wasn't too far. I mean, you've probably been in 40 of the 50 podcasts, I would guess. I mean, it really wasn't long before you jumped in.
I'd say it was only maybe a month or two.
Yeah, it was quick, but it was better. Having 3 people really changes the conversational.
Yeah, it's an improved dynamic by far.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think that was definitely good. It actually gives me some real respect for the folks who do produce their own podcast and they're their own person doing it. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I've learned one specific thing. I detest the sound of my own voice.
I love the sound of your voice.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know that I necessarily prefer having guests, but I do like adding sort of that element as well. So I think the fact that we mixed, guest speakers in with just stuff that we've done on our own has actually been a nice mix. And most of those have gone, really well. People seem interested in doing the podcast, which is kind of fun. That's unexpected. I didn't expect pretty much every single person we ever asked to do it to say yes. I thought there'd be more resistance to it, but I think people they like the idea of getting on air.
Certainly for me, those are the more interesting topics and interesting conversations because we don't really know where it's going to go, and half of that is the fun.
Right.
Yeah. I think we need to fight more.
We do need to. We do. Yeah, we don't disagree.
Yeah, we
enough.
agree on everything all the time. It's so boring.
The trouble, we don't agree when we're off air. So I don't know why.
I know it's true. We come on here and all of a sudden we have the same idea.
We're so also pleasant. So the being sort of enthusiastic and dynamic sometimes is a little tough, especially when you're actively doing client work and you're like, I've got to get a podcast in the next hour, and you're shifting, right? So it's not always easy. This isn't our full-time job.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably, believe it or not, the hardest part about this.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Getting in the right headspace is really difficult at times. We may prep a week prior, but that feels like a month and a half.
Sometimes.
Depending upon what comes in between. Man.
Yeah, we're jumping in and out of meetings and between recordings and whatnot. It's interesting.
But it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I mean, I think it's a neat thing to do. I really am committed this year to promoting it more. I think if we get, honestly, I know for me, if we get more ears on it, it will feel like a better use of time. Because every once in a while I'll roll in thinking, all right, here we are again, but how do we get more people to listen to it? And I think that's got to be a key thing coming into the next year.
Yeah, hopefully we're making content that's useful and going to make some waves, hopefully.
So on that, I would say we did start this saying we don't want it to be a marketing heavy thing, right? We don't want to promote ourselves. We don't want to promote products. And I think we've really done a nice job staying true to that. We haven't avoided it altogether, and I think that's fair too. But really, we have erred on the side of education and trying to produce content that people might get some value out of. And I really think we've done that.
Yeah, I mean, I know we try to avoid promoting products, but sometimes it's good to let people know, hey, these types of things are out here. Here are the vendors. I think a lot of people are scared to name a solution a lot of times, and I think that just adds to confusion a lot. And I think it's okay that we bring it up every now and then.
I agree, but plus it's undeniable that we have some favorites, personal or organizational. Yeah. There are some key players in the market. It seems silly not to mention them at times, but all the same, if I mention one, I'm going to be careful to mention a competitor and say, hey, they're both appropriate, perhaps for your org, depends on each. That sort of thing. That balance is important to me, at least.
So we do have, and none of us has seen it, right? So Danielle, who is new to the Vancord team, who's assisting with all things marketing, has put together a list of 6 or 7 different podcast snippets for us to hear and then maybe sort of react to. So I don't know what they are yet, and so she's going to play those, and I think we're going to start with one now from episode 7, the Silver Bullets versus Snake Oil episode, which I don't know that it included Matt. I think that was maybe just a Steve and me. So let's see what we got.
You're saying a variant of what I did a moment ago.
So I'll touch on 2 things. So one, I love to regurgitate things that you say. So I have no shame in that whatsoever.
So listening to that, I think there's a lot. There remains a lot of truth in that comment. I'm good at listening and digesting and maybe sometimes parroting something back. I'm okay with that. I have no pride.
We've done our share of co-speaking at presentations and so forth over the years. We have a tendency to sort of, ping pong toward a point.
Yeah, finish thoughts.
That's part of the problem.
And I think that a lot of that comes from a long history of working together. I mean, we do it when we write, and we certainly do it when we speak, no doubt.
It can be a good thing.
I hope so. All right. So I think our next episode is episode 21, which probably actually is kind of my favorite, which is the How Does Santa Really Know What to Bring You? And actually, I think that remains our highest downloaded episode. So not just my favorite, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when we hit a more lighthearted tone, and it just makes things a little easier, more fun for everybody.
So Santa, though, he's jumped into the 21st century. We all know that. He clearly knows when you're sleeping and when you're awake. Right? I mean, it's something he's been concerned about for a long time. He's put a lot of effort into collecting that data. I'm curious to know how we actually get to that. Do you guys have any insight in that at all?
Well, the elves have a health and wellness division now. They make the sleep number beds. So, they know exactly when you're sleeping, whether you're uncomfortable, whether you're hot, whether you're cold. It, makes sense. They know when you're sleeping.
So are they tracking that somewhere, though, or where's that data go?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it?
It is.
A lot. We'd like to think we know where that stuff goes and that it stays on your phone or at least within that company, but we know that's probably not 100% true. And I'm not a lawyer, so I haven't read all the terms and conditions that all the elves have been writing.
My God.
Yeah, that episode was fun.
It was. But it was a lot more to plan than some of the others in some ways, right? Because we really had to think about how to be a little bit creative to drag in technology and couple it with something like that. I think we should try to find ways to do that, more often. I think every single time, right, takes away from the spirit of what we're doing. But quarterly or something, tie it with a holiday.
Or just let out the inner goofball a little more. Yeah.
I think we should qualify Jason's planning. What do you think? Right. I'm pretty sure that was we were pulled into a conference room for about 10 minutes and said, we gotta figure this episode out.
The usual line from Jason is, "Oh, I didn't spend any time thinking about this. Let's go." Okay.
Yeah,
And out popped that.
so that's fair enough. So maybe we need to plan just that amount over the next year.
Fair point.
All right. So the next one, episode 46, revisiting cybersecurity fundamentals.
So let's take a step back. What do we mean by fundamentals? I mean, I hear that and I think steps that every single person or organization needs to take to fulfill their minimum defensive expectations for security.
And I would argue, if we go through this list, almost all of them can be done for free. There's a couple in here that I think that probably might have a cost. It might be a little bit more robust than your home user, but for the most part, cost isn't a barrier to doing these. It's just a matter of making sure that you've got the sort of the operational maturity, or at least some routine built in to do these things.
Or just forethought, which is half the battle.
Right. Yeah. Making sure you've got a process to do this and make sure you're spending time on it. Someone following up and saying, hey, did we do these things this year or this month or this quarter, whatever it is.
Right. And this year sounds long, but the reality is in some cases is, hey, at least you did that last year, right? Which is better than not doing it at all. All right. So we're all comfortable saying every single person who's listening to this, it's a valuable podcast because it's something that you can do personally, at your workplace, whatever it is, but everybody needs to be doing this.
This is the preventative maintenance on your vehicle or your health kind of conversation for security.
I mean, let's face it, we all agree with the things that we brought up the first time we did it. We weren't happy with it when it was recorded. We wanted to run it back, and every single thing in there remains true today.
Right. Yeah,
that was a re-recorded?
That was a re-recording.
Yeah, I mean, just for people's awareness, we do that with some degree of frequency when we know we've fallen flat ourselves. It does produce a better outcome.
Well, our first episode was the fundamentals. Remember that?
That's right.
That was the one that really sounded like we were in a tin can. Yeah, I mean that's true. And listening to it, the one thing that does jump out to me is we certainly all sound different. Right. I think we have different inflections. We have real different tonal qualities. It should be easy to pick out who we are when people are listening, I think. So now we're going to turn to episode 43, which actually had a guest star, Lynn Friedman from Robinson Cole. What would you do? The value of acting out an attack.
Anytime a company is really talking about vulnerabilities, talking about paths that they would take in scenarios and in security incidents, talking about maybe some weaknesses in their plans and in their procedures. You want to protect that in the event that down the road there's an incident and a company gets sued, because all of the information, discovery and litigation can be very, very broad. And part of that could encompass your preparation for a security incident. What policies and procedures did you have in place? Did you test? Did you audit? Were there findings? All of these things ultimately may be discoverable in litigation. And usually if you're upfront and honest about and transparent about your weaknesses, if that's in documentation, it can be used against you in the future if you're in litigation.
That was all in.
Yeah, she's a good example of a really valuable guest. It's not often that that perspective comes into information security from true practitioners. So her being an actual legal counsel is very helpful. I think part of our function here is bringing in those outside perspectives, because otherwise it's too easy to be mired and not see the forest through the trees, even for people who are sufficiently skilled at the specialization.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that kind of highlighted the value of bringing in those guests, right? I mean, we try to be experts in a lot of things here. Being a security expert, you end up having to learn quite a few different disciplines, legal being one of them. But it's nice to have someone with our perspective on those things.
Yeah, there's a danger in being a hyper specialized generalist.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm just surprised how often we have to sort of move into that legal space or the interpretation space, and things that when we started this a long time ago, it wasn't a thing that you thought about. It was all about speeds and feeds and controlling data, and now it's a lot of our podcasts are regulatory compliance assessments, legal, etc.
We are reflecting the maturation of our industry. Right. Architects, they're PEs. They are certified engineers. That is nothing like the cybersecurity industry or computer industry in general, and that's the path.
So we're going to segue into episode 37, which is the ins and outs of cyber warfare. So I'm really curious to see what comes of this one, because I remember we spent a lot of time talking about how we'd want to position this one.
Exactly.
Right.
The speed of information travels. What's the adage? Truth flies more slowly than falsehood, or something to that effect. I'm butchering it, but
I don't know
the
if
point
that works. But
the point remains, right?
That sounded like a Steveism.
Yes.
for sure.
A poorly paraphrased idiom. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Typically from the 1900.
Oh,
Yeah, something like that.
I think you're a little too recent. 1830.
1800s?
Yeah.
Is that your sweet
Yep.
spot?
I mean, there's been a couple of conversations in preparation for this where I know Matt and I have looked at each other saying, we have no idea where Steve's headed with this. Like, what is that idea?
Yeah, sometimes it's a good thing that these things are video
Well,
recorded.
it is worth kind of pointing out that we are thinking out loud when preparing to each other, and that can take many different forms.
It's fair. You do more thinking out loud maybe than we do for some of these things, but yeah, but that's a good one. I mean, truth does flow more slowly than.
I want to look that up now. Hold on a second.
Oh, you better do it quick.
It's bothering you that much, huh?
It
He
does.
does. He wants to know.
Shush now.
We're gonna have to get it in there.
That there are many variants of that one. I can't find it easily. It doesn't matter.
That's fine. All right. And episode 18, automotive hacking. Should you be worried? Or, dude, who stole my car? I think that was yours. You were always a good one for coming up with the creative alternate titles.
Yep, that's true.
So, how much do we have to think about that, though? So, I'll speak for myself. I can't wait for the truly autonomous vehicle, where I can just sit there and be driven to work, right? And I think there's so much good to come out of that space. I think about older people who might not want to have a license actually then just move forward with an autonomous vehicle so they can actually get driven around. There's some real benefits to this stuff. I would argue that the risks far outweigh. The benefits far outweigh the risks.
I hold true to all those statements. I still can't wait for the autonomous car.
I don't know. I don't know if I want you as an old person being carted around everywhere.
Do you want me as an old person driving?
He already
fair enough. Yeah.
He already can't hear. It'll be a little safer for everybody when he's no longer able to see.
It is true. There was a cricket in my garage last night, and I kept being told to go get it. I'm like, I can't hear it. I have no idea where that cricket is. So,
Oh boy.
So a few of our favorites. It's I guess some items that maybe represent the way we speak, the way we prepare, the different topics that we sort of convey. I think segueing into things like autonomous vehicles and some of the security risks there. We really did try to find intersections of modern IT or societalized IT and security, which I think is cool. I mean, 50 episodes. We're getting better, I think, at finding sort of the topics and figuring out what actually is relevant or resonates. we do plan to some degree, right? It's just amazing how often we do roll into these just knowing it's going to be a conversation and trying to figure out where it goes.
I think we should aim to do a little more storytelling. Those are the more interesting conversations that we have when speaking in front of people. And, there's a real challenge in transforming that into something where you don't have an audience that can react to you in that moment. Right. But we have a lot of really interesting stories, whether we can share them or not is an open question, but, at least sometimes it'd be worth doing.
Yeah, it's always a challenge is that sometimes we just can't talk about some of the things that we do to protect the innocent, if you will.
Yeah, but we're not. It is true. We're not theoretical, right? We are practitioners, and we're having conversations, sometimes crazy ones, with clients all the time, and just experiences that are worth relaying. And I think the stories are typically more interesting. Yeah, no doubt about that. So here's to another year that's upcoming. Get some more ears on this. Maybe get a little bit more lighter, more lighthearted, and see what the next year brings. But it's been fun for me, and I appreciate that both of you have been willing participants throughout the entire year. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's been great.
The groaning has nothing to do with willingness. Don't worry about it.
Nothing to do with it. All right, guys. And on that, just intended to roll back a little bit of what we did for the past year. We hope people enjoyed it. We appreciate all of you who have listened for the last year. And if this is your first one, we're looking forward to having you as listeners going forward. So thanks.
We'd love to hear your feedback. Feel free to get in touch at Vancord on LinkedIn or on Twitter at Vancord Security. And remember, stay vigilant, stay resilient. This has been CyberSound.